Well, it's that time of the year again. Time for children to start dressing up as their favorite characters. Time for adults to start passing out candy. The little kids going door to door, collecting their favorites. And maybe you cuddling up next to your loved one, watching a scary movie or two. Wink, wink. Now that I no longer follow the rules of the Jehovah's Witness cult, I do participate in some holiday traditions. Halloween is not one of those traditions, but it is a scary time of the year. But what if I told you that there are way more things scarier than Halloween? Being a Jehovah's Witness. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today we're diving into something a bit unsettling. 6 things that are scary about being a Jehovah's Witness. Now, whether you're just curious, an ex-member like me, or you stumbled across this video, get ready because some of these things might surprise you. Now, from fear of Armageddon looming over every decision to the way relationships can be used to control behavior, there's a lot about this religion that people on the other side don't realize. And trust me, as someone who lived it, these things can really mess with your mind. Which brings me to our first scary thing about being a Jehovah's Witness: brainwashing. The definition of brainwashing is a forcible indoctrination to induce someone to give up basic political, social, or religious beliefs and attitudes and to accept contrasting regimented ideas. The techniques of brainwashing typically involve isolation from former associates, which they do, and sources of information, an exacting regimen requiring absolute obedience and humility, which they require, a strong social pressure and rewards for cooperation, which they do, physical and psychological punishment for non-cooperating, ranging from social ostracism and isolation. Which brings us to our second thing scary about Jehovah's Witnesses: disfellowshipping. Disfellowshipping is the removal of a certain person inside the congregation who doesn't follow the rules. If you are found to be non-repentant, you will be disfellowshipped in front of the whole entire congregation. That means that any relative, friend, or any social person that you talk to that is a Jehovah's Witness, you are not allowed to speak to them until you are reinstated as one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, their reasons for this is backed up by the scriptures, so they say. But that was a letter written to a particular congregation in Corinth. Despite their biblical reasoning for disfellowshipping, that can have a very serious cause on the ex-member or member who is disfellowshipped from family and friends. Disfellowshipping can cause serious damage to the individual, especially if your entire family is involved in the religion. Imagine having everything you know ripped from you because you no longer believe, you sinned, or you just messed up. Now, the many members who do participate in not talking to their relatives, they really do believe that they're doing their family member a service by not talking to them, because they feel like, hey, I'm doing the right thing because this is going to bring them back to Jehovah and it's going to save their life. Honestly, I don't blame them. This is what they are taught. Some people grew up in this, and this is all they know. So I do not find fault in those members because they are listening to what the governing body says. Which leads me to the third thing scary about Jehovah's Witnesses: the governing body. The governing body is a small group of older men who direct Jehovah's Witnesses worldwide. Just as recent as the annual meeting for this year, they just appointed 2 new governing body members. So much for the generation that doesn't pass away. These group of men, consisting of white males and 1 person of color, direct the entire worldwide organization. Whatever these men say goes. In the 2023 annual meeting, the governing body decided that men were allowed to grow beards. Yes, natural beards that come out of their face that God, Jehovah, gave them. They were allowed to finally grow beards, and women were allowed to wear pants. This leniency came upon the mercy of the governing body, and the members were so excited to have pants and grow beards. Even as recent as the governing body, they have beards now. It's funny that the biblical people that we read about in the Bible and the different illustrations that they have in their publications, all their males have beards. But yet this generation of men are celebrating being able to grow beards. But as you can see, a lot of people suffered, or should I say men who wanted to have beards, they had their privileges taken away. They were either counseled in the back and told that they had to cut their beards off because it was a distraction to the other members. But now all of a sudden, now it's not a problem. You cannot tell me that that is not a form of brainwashing. Now, witnesses do not celebrate any worldly holiday at all. But let's take birthdays, for example. There is not a command in the Bible that says you should not celebrate birthdays. But there are 2 accounts of where someone was unalived at these birthday parties. Now, I have my whole explanation on birthday parties by itself. That will be covered in a different video. But let's just take that birthdays for an example. For hundreds of years, or over 100 years, birthdays we were told not to celebrate them. But let the governing body tell these members that tomorrow we can celebrate birthdays. Guess what? There will be almost, not all, because some of the old schoolers don't like that. Especially some of these new changes. A lot of people did not like them. But let the governing body tell them that they can celebrate birthdays. People will be celebrating birthdays with the quickness. That's how much control the governing body has over its members. That is a scary thing because these men control the lives of a lot of these members. If you notice in a lot of the JW broadcasting, they always say the governing body has decided. Jehovah and the governing body has decided. And sometimes they don't even say Jehovah. They just say the governing body has decided. There are many doctrines and policies that people look upon to see if they're going to get changed. A lot of ExJw members are looking to see what's the next change that they're going to make. And one of the changes that I think the governing body will have a problem with is the blood doctrine. The 1973 Awake June 8th edition states in its article that we must still consider that the administration of a blood transfusion is to some degree a biological sin. Did they make that up? Now, we can definitely agree that the times from 1973 all the way up to 2024, the cleanliness of blood has definitely changed. There's a lot more updated technology. Not trying to give you guys a Bible lesson right now, but if you read Genesis 9:4 from their Bible, it says, flesh with the life thereof, which is the blood thereof, shall ye not eat. Leviticus, the latter part of 17, says, you are not to eat any fat nor any blood. Acts 15:22 through 29, it states to keep yourselves free from things sacrificed to idols and from blood and from things killed without draining their blood. Eating blood and blood transfusions are not the same thing. And when they were speaking about eating blood, they were speaking about animals. Thousands of men, women, and children have lost their lives because of the refusal of blood. Witnesses believe that blood is so sacred that anyone who does take of blood through transfusion are not only unforgivable, but they will not enter Jehovah's kingdom of paradise, and they are disfellowshipped and removed from the congregation. This is what I believe they call an unforgivable sin. Wanting to live is a sin. I know when my relative was in the hospital, the doctors asked her if she wanted to take blood, and of course she said no, and my heart dropped because even though I know that her situation it wasn't required because it was an option because of a just in case it's needed. It's the idea that I was standing close to someone who I love dearly, who opted out of blood if ever they were going to need it, and they were going to choose to die or not be resuscitated if something happened. Many parents in the past have lost their children in articles of awakes where it was written that 3 children had passed away because they refused the blood, but they were very much so needed. These people were praised in the article for not accepting blood. How sick to put children on display of a magazine who passed away because they could have received a life-saving blood, but you guys are praising these children because they refused it. But we know that these are not the children. These are the parents. These are the governing body making a policy for these parents not to receive life-saving blood. A child relies on their parents to make that decision. And when you do not choose to do anything to protect your child, that's a problem. Which brings me to number 5. The protection of PDF files. The governing body has this thing where it's called the 2-person rule. You need 2 eyewitnesses to have seen the actual abuse occur. Yeah, that's right. 2 eyewitnesses to see that this child has been messed up or touched. Now, when do you know that someone who's doing something wrong is trying to get caught? The organization Watchtower has been sued for millions and millions and millions of dollars because of all the accusations and cover-ups that they have done. You're encouraged to go to an elder to talk about it. And a lot of the times, from accounts that I've seen and the damaging it has done to a lot of children, a lot of times the accusers never get punished. They might get disfellowshipped, but guess what? They're still allowed to remain in the same congregation that the person who they have harmed. No type of punishment, no type of reformation, no going to the police. And that's if they even see actual proof of what happened to your child. The governing body does not want anything bad, no type of bad PR on the organization. But this is a imperfect, perfect organization, right? I believe I heard them say something like that on a podium before. It's an imperfect, perfect organization. Far, far from perfect. Far. They are now seeing the damages and it's hurting them in their pockets. That's why I think there's been a lot of the consolidating of kingdom halls around the world where they're merging halls because a lot of people aren't attending. That is true. But why are they selling all of these halls? One should wonder. I guess it's because they have to pay off the victims. Well, hopefully something changes about that policy and something can be done about it. This brings us to our last and final scary thing about Jehovah's Witnesses. That is door-to-door witnessing. What better way to prove this point than to give you someone else's account? TikToker the Jessie of today reviews her accounts of door-to-door witnessing. Let's take a listen.
Hi, I used to be in a cult. You might have heard of them, Jehovah's Witnesses. I went preaching door-to-door a lot. So here are some stories. I was 11 years old, and I was walking up to this house with a front door that had frosted glass on it. You couldn't see details, but you could definitely see figures. I knocked, and I heard a man scream from the other side of the door asking what I wanted. I said, "Hi, my name is Jessie, and I'm just going around to all your neighbors asking their opinion on something." Then I hear this from the other side of the door. And then this man presses his bare ass onto the frosted door. I'm just 11 and looking at ass cheeks and a ball sack just pressed against the front door. Cool, I'm gonna go now. Another time, I believe I was 14 and I was with a 12-year-old. We go to this door and this woman answers. She seems very nice and she invites us in. So we go in. We're talking to her for a while. She's giving us snacks and water. Then her husband comes around the corner. He says he's a youth pastor and he does not let us leave for 2 hours. We kept trying to leave and he wouldn't let us leave until we admitted that disfellowshipping is a wrong practice. I'm super brainwashed, so I'm defending all of my beliefs, of course. Several times we stood up to start making our way to the door, and then he would come and stand in between us and the door. Finally, we got out of there. We get back into the car group that the other witnesses are in that we were preaching with. They're all like, oh yeah, you were in there for a long time. We were starting to wonder about you. Yeah, I'm like actually a child and was in a stranger's house for hours and no one thought to like come check on us. Another time I was 15 and was walking towards a house. Their driveway was long and made of gravel. Then I start hearing gunshots and the gravel at my feet is flying everywhere. There is a man in his home with a rifle shooting at my feet as I'm walking to his door. He screams at me that he is a good shot and that he won't miss if he wants to hit me. Please don't shoot me, Mr. Man. I just want to talk about Jesus. So I ran back to the car. Yep, there's just a few stories. How about we don't send children to go knocking on strangers' doors? Huh? How about that?
Yeah, I'll just drop the mic right there. There's nothing else that really needs to be said on that point. Why going door to door is scary. She basically gave it all because that can happen with adults too. But I do want to add my 2 cents that at least on Halloween, people expect children to come knock on their door. You order a package, people expect a delivery man to come to their door. Jehovah's Witnesses come unannounced. Let's just leave that there. Now, this video is not about attacking any individual member. This is merely my commentary on the realities of what being inside this organization can bring. Not everyone will agree with the list or calling it a cult or that the members are brainwashed, but many within the religion genuinely believe they are following the truth and doing what's right. But these are some of the things and reasons why outsiders and even some former members feel this way. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Let's keep the conversation respectful and open because talking about this stuff is part of understanding and healing. The list was in no particular order. I just made a list to piggyback off the short I made earlier. I was a little late because this was supposed to come out before Halloween, but hey, we made it make what it do. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to join more conversations like this and hit that like button if this video gave you something to think about. Until next time, take care of yourselves and remember you're not alone and together make the world a better place. Peace and love to everyone.
Little lamb gone broke, dancing in the moonlight glow. Little